Hello, in this video we are going to do an overview of rows and columns using the page builder. This video assumes that you are already logged in to your website and know the basics, so if you don't, please watch those videos in the website help section. First of all, let's jump into the edit with page builder, click that button, and the content in your website is made up of rows and columns. So rows generally spread across the page and then they have columns within them. For instance, this is a row here and you can see by these light lines that there is a single column here. If we scroll down, you'll see that this is a row here with two columns. In each column is where the content is. For instance, this column just has a single image, whereas this column has a heading and a text block. You can move content from one column to the other. For instance, if we wanted to put heading above the image, move it, we can just hover over the title heading, drag and drop that. As with all page builder changes, unless you click update, the changes won't actually get published live on your website. So you can see what it's going to look like here, and then when you're happy, you can click update. We can also move content from one column to a column of a different row. So these are two different rows here, but we can drag this heading and put it there. Let's put that back, and then you can move entire columns from one position in their row. Now you can't move a column to a different row, but if we wanted to put the heading column to the left, we just drag it to the left and drop it, and then you'll see that they are now on different sides. And if we wanted to, we could put the column back to the left. Now we'll jump into the row setting section. So rows have additional settings for layout and style, which you can edit yourself if you like. Often there's a preset up for you and you won't actually have to do anything, but it's always nice to know that you can. So to edit a row, you hover over the title row, then to the pencil, and it says edit row. Then you can click that. Sometimes if your column is expanded, you won't see that pencil for the row, so you just need to click the little arrow. You click that, then you click the pencil, edit row. Now to start with, we will change the background color of a row, and to do that you go to the design options section. There's quite a bit here, which is most of it's quite self-explanatory, and generally you don't actually need to worry about that. The main two we're going to look at is background and this box here. To set a background color, you click select color, and then you get this little box to drag and select the color you want, or you can paste in a hexadecimal code here if you know what that is. So you select that, click save changes, and you'll see that that is now there. You can also click this plus to add a background image, and you can upload an image from your website or select from your computer, or you can select one that is already uploaded. And we'll just click this one. We'll click set image, you see it pop up there, click save changes, and you'll see that there. In this case, we don't want that there, so we're just going to get rid of that by clicking the X and clicking save changes. As you will see, the background color doesn't stretch all the way across, and it looks a little bit weird like that, so we're going to change that. Navigate to your general tab, and the first option is row width, and this is where you can select the width of the row. There's four options. The default is what we see here. If we click full width background and click save, you'll see that the background color stretches all the way to the edge of the page now, but the content stays in the middle. You can also change to full width background and content, which makes the content stretch all the way across. There is still a little bit of padding on either side between the columns, and if you wanted to get rid of that, you can change that to full width background and content, no padding. If you click that, they are now all smushed together like that. In this case, we don't want that. Let's just go full width background. You'll see that there is a bit of padding between the elements and the top of the row and the bottom of the row, and that is called padding. And you can change the default value. There are a few predefined ones, which you can see what they look like just by having a play and selecting them. In this case, let's select medium top padding. We click that, and then the padding has been added to the top. And then if we wanted to add padding to the bottom as well, you can see there's only a little bit of space here. We can click medium and some more spacing is added there. Margin is the space above or below the element, and if we wanted to add more spacing between the top and this other row here, you click top margin, click medium, or another option, click save, and you'll see that extra space is added. You can also do that with the bottom margin. You can also set a background video by clicking yes, and then you set some placeholder images for when the video is loading. Then you paste in video URLs which you can upload to the website yourself. In this case we don't want that, so we'll click no. Some of these options you don't have to worry about. But full height row, if you click that, if you click yes, that will make the row full height of the screen. So you can see here that now it is exactly the full height of the screen. The background color goes all the way to the top to the bottom. In this case, we can just turn that off. One other thing is equal height for the columns. This is good for having content centered aligned vertically or for having images stretch all the way across the height. So if you click equal height, first of all you'll see that this column here isn't as tall as this one, whereas this one goes all the way to here. If you click equal height and click save changes, then you'll see that now this column's outline stretches all the way to the bottom, which shows that it is now equal height. And we can then click content position, click middle, and you'll see that this now goes down to the middle. And generally other things you don't need to concern yourself with. If you wanted to keep this row for now, but didn't want it published on the front end of the website, you can just click disable row, click save changes, and then now people can't see it. And if you click update, jump to the front end of the website, you'll see that the row is no longer there. Let's keep that row back for now, click save, update, go to the front end, and now it's back. To create a row, you can navigate right to the bottom of the page where the content is, and you'll see this plus here. And this is where you can click add element. And there are lots of elements here. You can add any element and that will automatically create a row for you. So if we added a button, it'll open up the button settings and it's automatically created a row for us. Or if we want to get rid of that, hover over it, click delete row. And to change the row layout, as I mentioned, this row has two columns here, 1 and 2. They're both 50% width. Now we can change that if we like. If we wanted to add a third one, you hover over here in the row settings to change layout. And you'll see here that this says 1/2 plus 1/2. So that's 1/2 of the width plus 1/2 of the width. There are predefined ones here, or you can type your own one in, but it has to conform to a specific structure as it is based on a 12 width column. So for instance, if we wanted to make the text wider, we can click this one here, 2/3 plus 1/3. And now the text is wider and this column is thinner. If you wanted to add another row here, you can, another column into the row, you could click this one for instance, 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. If you click that, click update, you'll see now that there are 3 columns in this row. You can then click plus to add an element, or you could, for instance, clone a single image, drag it and drop it in there. If we wanted to create a custom layout for ourselves, for instance, we could type 1/6 plus 1/3 plus 1/6, and so that will get us 3 columns varying width, and then we could add, for instance, another 1/3, and you'll see now we have these 4 columns here of varying width. If we wanted to get rid of some of these columns, you can hover over the column and there's a little X and you just click that to delete the column. And then if we were to go back into the row layout, you'll see that that last one has gone. you can get quite fancy with your column layouts. For instance, if we wanted a row to have multiple full width columns, for instance, if you wanted them to all have the same background color, you could go 1/1, which is a full width, plus 1/1. And then if you click update, you'll see that this is a full width column here, and then this is a full width column here. And we used to have 3 columns with 3 different pieces of content in there, but this single image, which was in the third one, has now jumped to the second one because we only have 2 columns. If we want those to go back to being halves, we can just click that, and we could get rid of the single image, and then X out of those row settings. If you wanted to delete the row entirely, click Show Row Controls, and then click Delete, and then it's gone. But if we want that back, we can just click Undo. The final thing I'm going to touch on is the responsive options, or the mobile-friendly options. As I mentioned earlier, this is a 50% to 50% rows. Now, by default, that 50% will stretch across all different screen sizes, from large desktops down to tablets. Mobile phones will automatically have columns become full width so that they stack on top of each other, unless you explicitly define otherwise. Now, the default width goes for tablets. So what that means is that this 50% width here means that they'll display 50% width on tablets. But if we wanted to change that, you go into the column settings, click Edit Column, and then if you click Responsive Options, you'll see here it's got a width of 6, which is 1.5. That's 6 columns out of 12 columns. And then you can see here that the default width on tablet is the one that is up here. But for instance, we're on a large desktop computer, which is this one here, large, and we can change the width, for instance, to be 1/4, or 3 columns. If you click that, click Save, you'll see that now this is 3 columns, or 1/4. And then if we wanted to make this one fill the gap on large devices, you can click Edit Column, Responsive Options, and then on large devices we'd change this to be 3/4, which is the remaining. Click Save, and then click Update. Now, if we look at what the customers will see on the front end, you'll see that he has 1/4 and a 3/4 column. But when we jump down to mobile phone screen, you'll see that automatically they're both full width and they stack on top of each other. But when we jump up to tablet, they are now that predefined value that we set in the row layout. So 1/2 plus 1/2. And you can also set the breakpoints for large displays and the extra large displays, which we set here. That is an overview on rows and columns. If you have any questions, you can contact us directly, or you can look at more videos on the website help section of your website, or go to knowledgebase.co.nz.